You start here in France, where there's an exclusive interview with one of Vladimir Putin's main domestic opponents.
This is on the front page of Libération this morning, which is one of France's main newspapers, a left-leaning daily. You can see Ilya Yashin, a Russian opponent of Vladimir Putin, who was imprisoned for 18 months before being released back in August. The headline reads, "The hopes of a resistant." Inside the paper, they have this two-page spread, this exclusive interview. He's asked many questions. One of them asked about the death of Alexei Navalny, which he says was a real blow. Despite that, he says you can kill a man, but not his ideas. He goes on to say how he's become their Martin Luther King, and now Putin can do nothing about him because Navalny lives on in people's heads as a legend. In talking about his own safety, Yashin says he doesn't want to succumb to paranoia, and he never feels safer than when at large gatherings in public spaces. He talks about the hope he has for the future of his country, for the future of Russia. After Putin, the country will still be there, and so will Russians. According to Yashin, the normal, peaceful and civilized future of the European continent depends on a normal democratic regime in Russia. Yashin says there's a new generation in the making, and the potential for protest is building up with no way out. As soon as it becomes possible to protest, to express this protest, more or less legally, it will inevitably happen, he says.
And to Italy now, where a new bill has been passed criminalising surrogacy from abroad. Tell us more about that.
This makes the front pages of several Italian dailies this morning, including La Repubblica, one of Italy's biggest papers. Surrogacy is already banned in Italy. This move outlaws couples going abroad. Corriere della Sera gives us more detail on the bill's passing. The law passed by 84 votes to 58 in the Italy Senate yesterday. They also report that PM Giorgia Meloni called it common sense against the commodification of women's bodies, with Italy's Vice PM Matteo Salvini calling it a victory against sleazy billionaire businesses that exploit women and children. The decision has triggered protest from the opposition, who've called it medieval. Surrogacy has been banned domestically since 2004, but now the punishment for going abroad is going to be pretty steep. Between 3 months to a year in prison, as well as fines from between €600,000 to €1 million. This story has made the international press as well. This is actually on the front page of the New York Times website this morning. They make the point how this is a particularly big blow for gay couples in the country, because 90% of couples who use surrogacy in Italy are straight couples, and many of them hide the fact that they've gone abroad to have a baby. So in practice, these new extreme punishments aren't really enforceable on straight couples, whereas obviously same-sex couples don't have that same luxury. Returning to Italy, they can't possibly hide a child in the same way. Italy is a country where gay couples are unable to adopt, so this law essentially prevents the gay couples from having children outright. Italy has already been training behind most European countries when it comes to LGBT rights, and that was before Meloni took power. Together with Hungary and the Czech Republic, Italy is among the few European countries that doesn't recognise same-sex marriage as well.
And from one bill that's been passed to another that has been proposed, an assisted dying bill was introduced in Westminster yesterday. What has the British press been saying about that?
On the front page of The Times this morning, they report that doctors have reacted to the proposal by calling for a dedicated assisted dying service, meaning that if the law is changed, terminally ill patients do not have their lives ended by the medical team treating them. Many doctors don't feel comfortable being responsible for the death. Proponents of the bill say that Britain should emulate so-called good models in Australia rather than far wider euthanasia laws, schemes even, that they have in Canada and Belgium. It certainly split opinion in the country. One man that's spoken out about it is the Archbishop of Canterbury. He's warned of a slippery slope towards vulnerable people feeling a duty to end their own lives. In the Telegraph this morning, they have a cancer specialist. He says politicians are too ignorant to intervene in the matter. His view is that a formal mechanism should be created. He says that he thinks it would be used extremely rarely. In his opinion, it would be less than 500 cases a year. But no matter what, he says, please spare us from the excruciatingly ignorant noise that's bound to emanate from the mouths of politicians, bishops and ethicists. Developing a mechanism should be fairly straightforward, and it's best left to those in medicine's front line, with some help, of course, from lawyers.
And you're going to stay, Leo, in the UK to finish, and some office rules that everyone should abide by.
Yeah, well, everyone needs to listen to this. This is in the Times this morning. According to a recent tribunal, if you don't respond to a colleague when they say hello, you could be breaking employment law. It comes after Nadine Hansen, who was working as a recruitment manager, won an unfair claims dismissal against her boss, Andrew Gilchrist. Gilchrist was angry at Miss Hansen because he thought she was late when she actually had a medical appointment. The 62-year-old then gave two colleagues raises without letting her know. Hansen eventually quit due to anxiety over her treatment. But when it came to the unfair dismissal claim, the key point that swayed the case was that she greeted her boss 3 times on 3 separate occasions, only to be deliberately ignored. An employment judge ruled that that was unreasonable and likely to undermine trust and confidence. I can sympathise with Nadine. I certainly know the feeling. So everyone watching, make sure you say hello, make sure you're friendly, because you never know what could happen.
Thankfully, we live in France where the magic word is bonjour, and you will not be let go without saying it.